Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I continue bringing you the next episode in the story of Tien and Jack. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the interesting videos shared every day. The journey of our familiar characters continues with many warm, simple yet meaningful moments. And in today's episode, the story begins with the lingering feelings after a joyful first day of the Lunar New Year at the village festival. The day before, Jack and Tien had immersed themselves in the lively atmosphere of the early year festival. The village roads were more crowded than usual, filled everywhere with laughter, music, and colorful stalls. The two of them walked slowly past each stall, looking around and chatting together in the exciting atmosphere of the first days of the new year. Traditional folk games made the place even more vibrant and cheerful. At one point, Jack stopped in front of a dart-throwing game stall. At first, he just wanted to try his luck for fun, but after a few focused throws, he unexpectedly won a small prize, a beautiful flower. Holding the flower in his hand, Jack turned to Tien, smiled, and handed it to her. The moment surprised her a little, but she could not hide her happiness. In the middle of the crowded festival, her smile seemed brighter than ever. The two continued walking around the festival area, watching children running and playing, elderly people chatting under large trees, and villagers happily exchanging good wishes for the new year. There was no need for anything grand. Simply walking together in that lively atmosphere, sharing those simple yet sincere moments, was enough to make both of them feel light-hearted and warm inside. Those ordinary moments helped Jack and Tien realize that happiness is sometimes not something distant or complicated. Sometimes happiness is simply being beside someone important, walking together through peaceful days and sharing the small joys of everyday life. And perhaps that was why the first day of the year left such a beautiful memory in both of their hearts. After the festival day, the cheerful atmosphere seemed to linger in the small house where everyone lived. Everyone felt more refreshed and optimistic, as if the joy of the new year had brought new energy into their lives. That evening, they even talked again about the fun moments at the festival, recalling each small detail and laughing together as they remembered the interesting games. The next morning, as the gentle sunlight of the new year slowly spread across the village roads, Jack and Tien woke up very early. The fresh and peaceful morning air made everything feel pleasant and calm. Soft golden rays of sunlight shone down on the rooftops and the rows of trees along the road, creating a simple but lively scene typical of the first days of the new year. From early morning, the two of them began preparing several small gift bags. Although the gifts were not large, they were arranged very carefully. Inside were candies, rice, instant noodles, and a few bright red lucky money envelopes. Tien carefully placed each item into the bags while Jack helped tie them neatly so they would be easy to carry. Each gift was prepared with sincerity, hoping to bring a little joy to people in difficult circumstances in the village. Today, Jack, Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung had planned to visit several elderly people living alone and some children facing hardship. It might not be something grand, but to them, this small act carried a very special meaning during the first days of the new year. When everything was almost ready, Mother Loy walked out into the yard from inside the house. Seeing the gift bags neatly arranged on the table, she smiled gently. Her kind eyes clearly showed her emotion at the thoughtfulness of the children. She softly said, "You've prepared everything so carefully." Her voice was not loud, but it was filled with warmth and pride. For Mother Loy, seeing the children thinking about others during the first days of the new year was the greatest joy. Jack, who was standing nearby, turned and replied with a sincere smile. "At the beginning of the year, we want to visit some elderly people and children who are having difficulties, Mom. It may not be much, but it comes from the heart." Jack's words were simple, yet they carried genuine sincerity. He understood that the gifts might not be something big, but sometimes a little care and attention is enough to bring happiness to others. Standing beside him, Tien nodded gently. Looking at the gift bags in front of her, she said softly, "As long as everyone is happy, that already makes me happy." For Tien, the greatest joy was not receiving something, but seeing the smiles of the people around her. That simple way of thinking made her always feel that helping others was something truly meaningful. Not long after that, Uncle Dung walked into the yard through the gate. Seeing that everything was ready, he looked around and smiled cheerfully. The atmosphere in the yard became warmer as everyone gathered together. Uncle Dung stepped closer and said enthusiastically, "Today will surely be a very meaningful day." His words made everyone feel a warm feeling rising in their hearts. A new day of the new year was beginning, and they knew that today's trip was not only about delivering small gifts, but also about spreading kindness, compassion, and the good things that everyone hopes to share in life. The four of them quickly arranged the gift bags they had prepared earlier onto the vehicle. Each bag was placed neatly and carefully, as if it carried not only small items but also the sincere hearts of everyone, meant for those who were still facing many difficulties during the first days of the new year. When everything was ready, Jack started the engine. Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung looked at each other and smiled. Inside, everyone felt light and warm, knowing that today's journey would bring joy to the people they were about to meet. The car slowly left the yard and rolled along the familiar village road. The early year sunlight shone gently on the rooftops, the rows of trees by the roadside, and even the distant fields that were gradually awakening with the vitality of a new season. The fresh morning air made everyone feel even more refreshed. Along the small road, they occasionally met villagers who were going around offering New Year's greetings. The smiles and warm greetings exchanged along the way made the trip feel even more meaningful and heartwarming. Their first stop was a small house located at the far end of the village. The house was old, its tiled roof already marked by the passage of time, yet the front yard had been carefully swept clean. An elderly woman had lived there alone for many years. Her life was quiet, but she had always maintained a kind and optimistic spirit. When the car stopped in front of the gate and Jack and the others stepped out, the elderly woman slowly walked out of the house. At first she seemed a little surprised, but when she realized they had come to visit her during the first days of the new year, her eyes immediately filled with emotion. Jack walked closer and gently handed her a gift bag along with a red Lucky Money envelope. His movement was slow and respectful, as if he wanted to place all of his sincerity into that single moment. "We wish you a new year filled with good health, Grandma." Jack's voice was calm and warm. The New Year wishes were simple, yet they carried genuine care and kindness. The elderly woman slowly reached out her trembling hands to receive the gift bag and the lucky envelope. Her hands, marked by the traces of time, gently held the small gift. Her eyes gradually became moist, as if the unexpected kindness had warmed her aging heart. She looked at each of them and softly said with deep emotion, "You are all so kind, coming to visit me at the beginning of the year." Those simple words made the atmosphere in front of the small house become quiet and deeply touching. Tien, standing nearby, slightly bowed her head to greet the elderly woman and smiled gently. Mother Loy and Uncle Dung also kindly asked about her health for a moment. The conversation was brief, but full of sincerity, making the little house feel warmer on that early spring morning. After saying goodbye to the elderly woman, the four of them returned to the car and continued to other places in the area. Their journey went on, and each stop brought its own emotions. There were families facing many hardships and situations that made anyone who saw them feel deeply moved. But whenever Jack, Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung handed over small gifts along with New Year wishes, the atmosphere wherever they went seemed to grow warmer. The gifts might not have been large, but in the eyes of those who received them there was always a sparkle of joy and gratitude. There were firm handshakes, gentle smiles, and many heartfelt wishes sent back to them in return. Those simple moments made each of them feel a very special kind of happiness. Every time they left a place, they carried with them a light and peaceful feeling. Because they understood that sometimes just a little care and a little sharing could make life feel much warmer. The final stop on their journey was a small community area where a group of children with difficult circumstances often gathered. As soon as the car stopped in front of the small yard, the children playing nearby immediately noticed them. When they saw Jack and Tutien stepping out of the car with bags of candies in their hands, the children's eyes suddenly lit up with excitement. Within moments, the children happily ran over and gathered around them. "We have gifts. There's lucky money." Their bright voices echoed across the small yard. The joy on their faces made the atmosphere lively and full of energy. Tutien bent down and gently took out each lucky money envelope, handing them one by one to the children. Her eyes were filled with kindness and affection. Each time she gave an envelope to a child, she smiled and offered a sincere wish. "Study well and always be good, okay?" The children happily thanked her and ran off to show their friends the lucky envelopes they had received. Their laughter filled the yard, pure and carefree like the happiness of childhood. Jack stood beside her, handing out candies to the children. Watching the cheerful group gathered around them, he felt a deep warmth in his heart. Behind them, Mother Loy and Uncle Dung quietly observed the scene, both wearing gentle smiles. After watching the children play for a while, Mother Loy softly spoke with deep emotion in her voice. "Starting the year by doing something good like this makes my heart feel so peaceful." Her words carried sincerity and calmness. For her, the greatest joy was not something grand, but simply witnessing the genuine smiles of the people around her. Hearing that, Uncle Dung nodded gently. Looking at the children laughing in front of them, he slowly said, "It's true, when we help others, we also feel happy." Though simple, his words carried a very profound meaning. In that moment, all four of them clearly felt that the joy of giving could sometimes be even greater than the joy of receiving. And during the first days of the new year, nothing could be more meaningful than sharing kindness and bringing good things to the people around them. The sun slowly began to lean toward the late afternoon, and the final rays of the day gently spread across the small yard where the children were still playing. The warm golden sunlight made the scene feel softer and more peaceful than ever. The laughter of the children echoed through the air, clear and innocent, making the first afternoon of the new year feel even warmer. The bright red lucky money envelopes and the small bags of candy they had just received had now become simple treasures of joy in each child's hands. Jack, Tutien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung stood quietly, watching the scene unfold before them. No one spoke much, and no long explanations were needed, because they were all sharing the same special feeling at that moment. In front of them were innocent smiles and carefree footsteps as the children ran and played. Each burst of laughter seemed to lighten their hearts, gently washing away the worries and fatigue of everyday life. Tutien looked toward the children who were happily sharing their cakes and candies, chatting excitedly with one another. She smiled softly. In her eyes there was not only happiness, but also a deep emotion that was hard to describe. The small gifts she and everyone else had brought might not have been anything grand, but to the children they had become a true source of joy. Standing beside her, Jack slipped his hands casually into his jacket pockets while continuing to watch the lively scene before him. He saw the children running around the yard, sometimes laughing loudly as they showed one another the lucky envelopes they had just received. At that moment, Jack clearly felt that today's journey had truly been meaningful. Not because of the gifts they had given away, but because of the sincere smiles now shining in front of them. Mother Loy stood slightly behind them. She watched the children playing happily and let out a gentle breath, as if releasing something that had been resting quietly in her heart. A kind smile appeared on her face. During the first days of the new year, what brought her the greatest peace was simply seeing joy spreading among the people around her. Scenes as simple as this reminded her that life does not always require grand things. Sometimes warmth comes simply from kindness and human connection. Uncle Dung stood nearby, quietly observing the same scene. He nodded slightly, as if agreeing with the shared feelings of everyone present. In his eyes there was a sense of satisfaction and calm. For him, the small actions of today carried a deep meaning. Not everyone has the opportunity to bring joy to others, and when someone does, they realize that the happiness created also returns to their own heart. The afternoon slowly passed by. The soft golden sunlight stretched across the yard, illuminating the bright and joyful faces of the children. They continued playing, sometimes running back to thank Jack and Tien before quickly returning to their games. Those moments, though simple, felt incredibly precious to everyone present. For Jack, Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung, a fulfilling new year was not only about crowded festivals, cheerful gatherings, or joyful trips. A truly meaningful new year sometimes begins with the smallest things, taking time to care about others, bringing a little happiness to people who may be facing greater hardships. During today's journey, they felt this truth more clearly than ever. Seeing the bright eyes, innocent smiles, and heartfelt words of thanks made each of them feel as though their hearts had been warmed. Joy did not belong only to those who received the gifts, it also flowed back to those who gave them. And in that peaceful moment of the early year afternoon, Jack, Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung all understood that the greatest happiness of a new year does not lie in distant or grand achievements. Sometimes happiness is simply being able to do a good deed together, to bring joy to someone else, and to see smiles appear on the faces of people around us. That moment would likely remain in their memories for a long time. A simple afternoon, a journey that was not very long, yet filled with meaning. And perhaps it is precisely these simple moments that make life feel more precious with each passing day. The story of Jack, Tien, Mother Loy, and Uncle Dung during these early days of the new year will pause here for now. Hopefully, the warm moments in this story have also brought you a little gentle and positive feeling. If you enjoyed this story, please remember to like the video to support the channel. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section to share how you feel about the story. Your support and feedback are a great motivation for the channel to continue bringing more meaningful and engaging stories in the upcoming videos.
Mình dự định sẽ đăng tập video này vào tối ngày 9. Nhiều thì đã theo dõi ủng hộ cho kênh của mình và mình đã xem những video tiếp theo trên kênh của mình và đăng ký kênh và kênh thông báo luôn để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ video nào mọi người nhé. Bây giờ thì mình đang hoàn thành các bước cuối cùng, tiêu đề mình cũng đã làm xong. Hình ảnh đại diện cho video mình cũng đã làm xong rồi. Bây giờ mình chỉ có một chút cảm xúc chia sẻ với mọi người rằng video này thì mình cũng dành khá là nhiều tâm huyết để có thể làm, nên là mong rằng mọi người sẽ thích và sẽ ủng hộ cho kênh mình trong những video này và những video sau đấy nữa. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại.